Forget what you learned in school. This is history's unhinged side. Welcome to Lifespan, the weekly podcast that digs up the dirt on the most outrageous, chaotic, and downright WTF lives ever lived. All told in a fun and fascinating way. Share, rate, and follow the show for more wild stories. This week, buckle up because we're taking a bizarre journey into the life of George Gordon Byron, better known as, well, Lord Byron.
Lord Byron.
Yeah.
Now, there's a name that conjures up images of passion, scandal, and maybe a touch of madness, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And we've got a whole stack of historical accounts and writings to sift through. So think of this as our mission, to figure out what truly made Byron tick, beyond the poetry and the persona.
You've shared some fascinating material, I must say. Really gets to the heart of what made him such a captivating and controversial figure.
Right. From his, shall we say, colorful personal life to his defiant spirit and ultimately his heroic yet kind of tragic end in Greece.
It's all there. A life that reads like, well, the most over-the-top fiction, but every twist and turn actually happened.
Okay, let's rewind all the way back to the beginning. Born into British aristocracy in 1788, but Byron's early life was far from the silver spoon fairy tale you might expect.
Not exactly a picture of stability, was it? Absent father, a bit of a spendthrift, from what I gather, and his mother, known for her, well, let's just say passionate and unpredictable nature.
Not exactly the ideal recipe for a well-adjusted childhood, is it?
No, not really. And for you, the listener, think about how that lack of, a steady and emotionally secure foundation might have shaped Byron. It's tempting to speculate that this early instability, this lack of a solid base, fueled his later need for attention, for intense connections, even if they were fleeting. You can see it reflected in the often turbulent nature of his relationships.
Makes you wonder if he was always trying to fill some kind of void, doesn't it?
Perhaps.
Yeah.
And then at just 10 years old, boom, he inherits his title. Talk about a life-altering event, especially for a young boy.
Thrust into the spotlight like that, you have to wonder how it affected him.
Oh, undoubtedly. It set him apart from his peers, maybe fostered a sense of, entitlement, perhaps even a feeling of being different, special. This early elevation in status, it had to have influenced his experiences and expectations moving forward.
And then, of course, we have to talk about the love life. I mean, where do we even begin? It's a veritable Regency rogues gallery. And it all started surprisingly early, didn't it?
Early indeed. We're talking about his time at Harrow School, these violently passionate connections with his schoolmates, John Thomas Claridge, John Edelston, and these were with other boys.
Which, for the time, was incredibly taboo, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. And for you, the listener, consider what this suggests about Byron. An early exploration of bisexuality long before such things were openly discussed or, accepted in society. It shows us that his affections weren't bound by the strict social norms of the era. It kind of sets the stage for the equally unconventional relationships he'd have later in life.
And then at 15, he falls head over heels for his cousin, Mary Chaworth. But it's unrequited love, and apparently the rejection hit him pretty hard.
Oh, it did. This wasn't just a teenage crush. It was a profound emotional blow. But interestingly, for you, it became a source of inspiration for his early poetry. You see echoes of this heartbreak in works like Hills of Annesley and The Adieu. It's like he poured all that pain and longing into his writing.
Turning heartbreak into art, a classic tale.
Absolutely. A recurring theme, really, throughout his career. And it underscores the point that even negative emotions, like rejection, can be incredibly powerful catalyst for creativity.
But it wasn't all unrequited longing in Byron's early life. We also have accounts of his first sexual encounter.
Ah, yes. And this one is, a bit more complicated. According to the testimonies, it was with his maid before he even reached his teens.
Yeah, definitely paints a different picture of his upbringing.
It does, doesn't it? It adds a darker, more complex layer to his early development, raises questions about boundaries, or the lack thereof, and perhaps even power dynamics at play in his childhood. This wasn't some romanticized first love. It was something with potentially exploitative aspects. For you, the listener, it's something to consider as we delve deeper into Byron's character.
Then we fast forward to 1812 and the whirlwind that was Lady Caroline Lamb. Her description of Byron as mad, bad, and dangerous to know, it's a phrase that's just stuck.
And for good reason, I'd say. It's the perfect encapsulation of his public image. Now, their affair, that was pure drama. Lady Caroline, Well, let's just say she wasn't exactly subtle in expressing her affections, sending tokens of blood and pubic hair, stalking him while disguised as a page boy.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
It's wild, isn't it? And for you, think about what it says about her. A woman utterly consumed by passion, perhaps reflecting the, shall we say, dramatic spirit of the Romantic era itself.
But the plot thickens because then Byron, he goes and has an affair with her mother-in-law.
Oh, he did. A blatant disregard for the intricate rules of aristocratic society. I mean, talk about adding fuel to the fire.
What do you think drove him to do that?
It's an interesting question, isn't it? Was it pure impulsiveness, a desire to shock, or perhaps a symptom of deeper relational patterns that we see emerging? For you, the listener, it's something to ponder as we piece together the puzzle of Byron's motivations.
And of course, Lady Caroline, being Lady Caroline, didn't just sit back and take it. There were public denunciations, and then she channeled all that fury and heartbreak into her novel Glenarvan. Literary revenge at its finest.
Oh, absolutely. Scorned and humiliated, she used her pen as a weapon, crafting a thinly veiled, fictionalized account of their affair. For you, it highlights how intertwined personal lives and public personas were becoming, especially for those in literary circles. Glenarvan serves as a reminder of the power of words, both as a form of expression and as a way to settle scores.
But let's be real. Lady Caroline was just one chapter in a very long and complicated book of Byron's love life. We have Lady Oxford, Lady Frances Webster. The list goes on. What does this string of affairs tell us about his approach to relationships?
It's a pattern, isn't it? Seeking intense connection, validation. Perhaps it was a restless search for lasting fulfillment, or maybe it was more about the thrill of the conquest. For you, the listener, consider whether these were driven by genuine affection or a more, well, fleeting need for something he couldn't quite grasp.
And then, of course, there's the marriage to Anne Isabella Milbank, better known as Annabella, 1815. Big society wedding. But it lasted barely a year and ended in a huge cloud of scandal.
Ah, yes, the marriage. Doomed from the start, you might say. While rumors of infidelity certainly swirled, it was the more serious accusations that truly led to their separation. Suspicions of cruelty and, most shockingly, the alleged incestuous relationship with his half-sister, Augusta Lee. This was the scandal that really tarnished Byron's reputation.
And ultimately led to him, well, basically fleeing England in 1816. Self-imposed exile.
Exactly. The social pressure, the whispers, the condemnation, it all became too much. And for you, imagine the weight of that societal judgment. This exile marked a major turning point in his life, forcing him to leave behind everything he knew and reshaping both his personal life and his creative output.
But exile didn't exactly mean a quiet, solitary life for Byron. In Italy, there was Mariana Sagatti, Margherita Cogni, more passionate encounters, just a different backdrop.
Oh, Italy provided a whole new stage for his romantic escapades. These affairs, especially in Venice, with a landlord's wife and then a baker's wife, paint a picture of a man perhaps feeling a bit freer from the social constraints he faced back in England, living more in the moment, driven by desire. For you, it raises questions about what he was truly seeking in these relationships.
And then we have his final significant affair with Countess Teresa Guiccioli. And with her, he even took on the role of her Cavaliere Servante.
Ah, yes, the Cavaliere Servante. For those who might not be familiar, it was a recognized social custom in Italy at the time. Essentially, it meant being a devoted companion to a married woman. It could range from platonic to romantic, and it involved certain social obligations, public appearances. It suggests a more settled dynamic, at least on the surface, compared to some of his earlier whirlwind romances.
But we can't forget about Claremont, Mary Shelley's stepsister, back in London. That affair resulted in his illegitimate daughter, Allegra.
Right. Another layer of complexity in his already tangled web of relationships. And for you, it highlights the impact Byron had on the lives of those around him, especially the women who became entangled in his orbit. The birth of Allegra brought further responsibility, though perhaps not one he readily embraced.
Now let's dive into one of the most debated and frankly murky aspects of Byron's life, his relationship with his half-sister, Augusta Lee. Was it just an intensely close sibling bond? Or was there something more, well, incestuous going on? The testimonies are full of speculation, but it's hard to separate fact from rumor.
It's one of the biggest mysteries surrounding Byron. And for you, it's a crucial point to consider. Their relationship was undeniably close, especially after their mother died. Augusta became his confidant, someone he could truly confide in, share his deepest thoughts and feelings. But the timing of Augusta's pregnancies and the fact that she visited him in London just before one of her daughters was born, it does make you wonder.
And then there's that cryptic letter he wrote to Lady Melbourne, talking about how it was worthwhile and not an ape. The interpretation of ape in the context of, well, deformed births from incest. It adds a rather chilling layer to all of this.
It does, and naming the child Medora, a character from his own poem, The Corsair, well, it's all very suggestive, isn't it?
Very. And it seems like Lady Byron herself became convinced of the incestuous relationship, which ultimately played a major role in their separation. You can imagine the scandal it caused in society at the time.
Oh, the scandal was huge. Even the suggestion of incest was enough to completely ruin someone's reputation. And for you, it highlights just how powerful societal norms and expectations were back then.
And then, years later, Lady Byron confided in Harriet Beecher Stowe, the author of Uncle Tom's Cabin. That really kept the rumors alive.
It did. But it's important to remember that despite all the speculation, there's no definitive proof. We're dealing with circumstantial evidence, whispers, and interpretations.
Right. We also have accounts from people like Lady Shelley, who described Augusta as being almost maternal towards Byron, reproving a thoughtless child, as she put it. And Augusta was known for her religious beliefs, which some argue makes the incest accusations less likely.
Right. These alternative perspectives offer a different way of seeing their relationship. It shows how easily things can be misinterpreted, how different people can view the same situation through different lenses. For you, the listener, it's a reminder to approach these historical accounts with a critical eye and consider all sides of the story.
So what about Byron himself? Did he ever address these accusations directly?
Not really. His responses were always evasive, sometimes contradictory. Perhaps it was genuine internal conflict, or maybe he was deliberately cultivating this air of mystery. Who knows? But his refusal to definitively deny the rumors only added to the intrigue.
So the debate rages on. Incest, or just a really, really intense sibling bond. Whatever the truth may be, it's clear that this scandal played a big role in his self-imposed exile.
Absolutely. The weight of those accusations, the social ostracism, it all contributed to his decision to leave England. It's a reminder that even without concrete proof, rumors and scandals can have a real and lasting impact.
Now let's talk about another very personal aspect of Byron's life, his clubfoot. He was born with this deformity, and it seems like even the medical experts couldn't quite agree on what exactly it was.
Yeah, it's a bit unclear. Some sources say it was a congenital clubfoot. Others suggest infantile paralysis or maybe dysplasia. It's fascinating, isn't it, how even with all our modern medical knowledge, we still don't have a clear picture of what caused it.
But what we do know is that it caused him a lot of physical and emotional pain.
Oh, absolutely. We have accounts describing his foot as twisted inwards, his right leg shorter than his left, his calf withered. He walked with a noticeable limp. And the treatments he endured as a child? Barbaric. They tried everything. Manipulations, clunky boots with leg irons. He was even treated by a quack doctor named Lavender.
Poor guy. You have to wonder if those treatments did more harm than good.
It's very likely. Imagine the pain and discomfort he must have endured. And it's no surprise that he refused to wear any corrective devices as an adult. Those early experiences must have left some deep scars, both physically and emotionally.
It seems like this physical difference really haunted him throughout his life. He even nicknamed himself Le Diable, the limping devil. That's a pretty telling self-assessment, wouldn't you say?
It is, and it speaks to the immense pressure he felt to conform to societal expectations of physical perfection. Here he was, this brilliant, aristocratic figure, yet he felt deeply insecure about this perceived flaw. It really highlights the psychological impact of living with a visible difference.
And he went to great lengths to hide it, didn't he? Special shoes, long trousers.
He did. Concealing his clubfoot became a lifelong obsession. It shows the lengths people will go to in order to fit in, to mask what they see as imperfections. And for you, the listener, it's a reminder that even those who seem to have it all often struggle with insecurities and self-doubt.
But here's the thing. Despite this physical challenge, Byron was an incredibly accomplished athlete. He was a skilled swimmer, famously swam across the Hellespont, excelled at fencing, boxing, horseback riding. Talk about defying expectations.
It's remarkable, isn't it? This drive to push himself physically, to excel in these areas that would have been challenging even for someone without a disability. You have to wonder if it was a way of compensating for his perceived flaw, a way of proving to himself and the world that he wasn't defined by his club foot.
And what's fascinating is that accounts from his contemporaries differ on how noticeable his limp actually was. Some barely mention it, while others describe it as quite prominent.
Right. It makes you wonder if Byron became adept at concealing it, or maybe some people were just more attuned to physical differences than others. It could also reflect his own fluctuating levels of self-consciousness about it. On some days, he might have felt more confident and projected that, while on other days, he might have been more self-conscious and withdrawn.
And even on his deathbed, he refused to let doctors examine his foot. It shows just how sensitive he remained about it until the very end.
It does. This part of him, this vulnerability, it remained a closely guarded secret.
From physical challenges to, well, let's be honest, outright rebellion, we have to talk about a bear at Cambridge. This story is legendary. Byron kept a pet bear in his rooms at Trinity College.
Oh yes, the bear. Classic Byron, wouldn't you say? It perfectly encapsulates his rebellious spirit, his complete disregard for rules and conventions. Imagine the audacity of bringing a bear to university.
Apparently, the college rules specifically banned dogs. And Byron, being Byron, argued that the rules didn't say anything about bears.
He found a loophole and exploited it brilliantly. It shows his sharp wit, his love of challenging authority, and it's just so wonderfully absurd, isn't it?
Completely. What do you think his motivation was? Just to shock people?
I think it was a mix of things, a desire to defy authority, certainly, but also perhaps a fascination with the exotic, a need to stand out from the crowd. He loved pushing boundaries, testing limits, and I'm sure he got a kick out of seeing the reactions of his fellow students.
I can only imagine the chaos that bear must have caused.
Oh, no doubt. Picture students walking down the hallway and suddenly coming face to face with a bear. It must have been a sight to behold.
The bear at Cambridge perfectly illustrates that mad, bad, and dangerous to know reputation Byron cultivated. He was living life on his own terms, consequences be damned.
He was. It's a testament to his individuality, his refusal to conform.
And finally, we arrive at the last chapter of his bizarre journey, his death in Greece. He became deeply involved in the Greek War of Independence, fighting for their freedom from the Ottoman Empire. What do you think drew him to this cause?
It was a complex mix of motivations. He was inspired by the ideals of freedom and self-determination, certainly, but he was also seeking redemption, a chance to escape his personal demons and contribute to something larger than himself. Perhaps he saw it as a way to rewrite his legacy.
He poured his own money into supporting the Greek cause, outfitting troops, even sailing to Greece and joining the fight in Missolonghi. He was appointed to a leadership role, commanding a regiment of Suliots. That's a pretty big leap for someone with no military experience.
It is, and it speaks to his charisma, his ability to inspire others. The Suliots were known for their fierce fighting spirit, but they were also notoriously difficult to control. For Byron to take on this role shows his commitment to the cause.
But then tragedy struck. In February of 1824, he fell seriously ill.
Yes. He contracted a severe fever, most likely malaria or typhus, which were rampant in the unsanitary conditions of Missolonghi. His health deteriorated rapidly.
And the medical treatments back then? Well, they weren't exactly what we'd consider effective today. They bled him repeatedly, which probably weakened him even further.
It was a common practice at the time, but in his case, it likely hastened his demise.
He died on April 19, 1824, at the young age of 36. His death sent shockwaves across Europe. He was mourned as a hero, a martyr for the cause of Greek freedom.
He was. Even though he didn't live to see Greece achieve independence, his involvement and his death had a profound impact. It boosted morale among the Greeks and galvanized international support for their struggle.
So, in a way, his death transformed him from a scandalous figure into a symbol of selflessness, a romantic hero who died for a noble cause.
It did. And it cemented his place in history, not just as a poet, but as a symbol of freedom and rebellion.
And that brings us to his enduring legacy, a legacy of scandal and literary genius. He left a mark on literature and popular culture that is still felt today.
Absolutely. He's considered one of the leading figures of the Romantic movement. His poetry, with its emotional intensity, its dramatic narratives, its exploration of themes like passion, rebellion, the power of nature, it inspired generations of writers. Think Childe Harold's Pilgrimage, Don Juan, and of course the lyrical beauty of She Walks in Beauty.
And he was a stylistic innovator, wasn't he? Bringing a more conversational, sometimes even satirical tone into his poetry.
He was. He broke away from the rigid conventions of the time, creating a more accessible and engaging style that resonated with a wider audience.
And then, of course, there's the Byronic hero. This archetype, the intelligent, sophisticated, but also moody, cynical, and rebellious figure, it pops up everywhere, in literature, film, even music. Why do you think this archetype has endured for so long?
I think it's because the Byronic hero embodies a kind of timeless appeal. This figure, flawed yet charismatic, brooding yet passionate, speaks to something deep within us. We're drawn to their complexity, their defiance, their rejection of societal norms. They represent a kind of romantic individualism that continues to fascinate and inspire.
And Byron's own life, with all its scandals and excesses, only added to the mystique of this archetype.
It did. His personal life became as much a part of his legend as his poetry. The affairs, the rumors, the exile, it all fueled the public's fascination with him.
And his death in Greece, fighting for a cause he believed in, solidified his status as a romantic icon.
It did. It transformed him from a flawed and controversial figure into a martyr, a symbol of heroism and self-sacrifice.
So even now, almost 2 centuries after his death, we're still captivated by this complex and contradictory figure. The brilliant poet, the scandalous lover, the rebellious spirit, the flawed hero.
It's a testament to the enduring power of his story, a story that continues to provoke and intrigue, a story that reminds us that even the most outrageous lives can contain moments of brilliance, beauty, and ultimately a yearning for something more.
Lord Byron. A life that truly defies easy categorization. From scandalous whispers to acts of profound courage, his bizarre journey leaves us with a lot to think about.
It does, and for those of you who are intrigued by what you've heard today, I encourage you to delve deeper into the sources, explore his poetry, read his biographies, discover the man behind the myth.
What aspects of Byron's life resonated most with you? Was it his passionate intensity, his defiant spirit, or his willingness to fight for what he believed in?
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your insights, any other bizarre facts you might uncover about Lord Byron with us online.
Thanks for joining us on this bizarre journey into the life of Lord Byron. Until our next exploration of history's most outrageous lives here on Lifespan, keep questioning, keep exploring, and never settle for the sanitized version of the past.
Absolutely. There's so much more to discover.